Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our educational webinar, proudly hosted by the International Trade Council. I am Anne, your host for today's session. So, before we delve into the core content, let's ensure our technical setup is flawless. Could you kindly indicate in the chat box if my voice is clear and the presentation that Mr. Tristan is visible? So let's take a moment for everyone to respond for it. Okay. Thank you so much for confirming. So again, for this setup. So today's session promises to be enlightening and engaging, focusing on mastering strategy, execution with OKR, introduction to objectives and key results, OKRs, the cornerstones for setting and achieving ambitious goals within an organization, techniques for aligning OKRs across various organizational levels, ensuring unified direction and purpose, best practices for crafting impactful OKRs and seamlessly integrating them into daily operation and decision-making processes. Strategies for tracking progress, measuring outcomes, and leveraging insights for continuous improvements. And also insights from real world examples demonstrating the transformative impact of OKRs on strategy execution and organizational success. It's an honor to have Mr. Tristan Pellox, Director at Strategies, as our team speaker. Tristan will bring a wealth of knowledge and insight that we are all eager to learn. So without further delay, I'll pass the virtual stage to you, Mr. Tristan.
Thanks, Lilian. As we've just said, today we're going to talk about strategy execution and how OKR as a framework can help mastering strategy execution. So the welcome has already been done, but so we'll uncover how OKRs can transform your strategic planning and help with the execution of your strategy. And my goal today is to help you understand what OKRs are and how you can implement them effectively in your organization. So a bit about me. I'm a strategy consultant. I'm a certified OKR coach by the OKR Mentors Collective. I offer OKR coaching, business planning, finance, advisory, and strategy execution consulting. Multiple countries. I live in Spain, but I work across Europe and beyond. And OKR coaching and consulting means training, workshops, enabling organizations to really improve goal setting and execution of strategies. Various types of businesses, and I'll talk about it just about now, but it's all about driving strategic alignment and improving goal achievement. Ideas are easy. Execution is everything. It takes a team to win. This is from John Doerr, and I believe this is from his very famous book, Measure What Matters. And John Doerr really popularized OKRs. And OKRs are not particularly new, but John Doerr made them very famous when he started implementing them at Google. OKRs, so let's start from the very beginning. What are OKRs? OKRs stand for objectives and key results. And it's a framework designed to set and achieve ambitious goals. It works for an organization. It works also for an individual. I want to run a marathon. Okay, fine. This is my objective. And the key results are going to be how I measure the success towards this objective. So it's a methodology that is used to set clear and measurable objectives. So going from this fuzzy dream that you have as a strategy, as a vision, to concrete goals that you're going to achieve. And what do you achieve with that? You have a better link between the strategy and the day-to-day activities, and that's known as strategy execution. It's not particularly new, although it's very trendy. You might have heard about it recently, but it's actually much older than me. I'm much older than most people on this calls, I would assume. It was developed by Andy Grove at Intel, the manufacturer of chips, to focus teams on measurable results and strategic priorities. Andy Grove started with management by objectives, and then it evolved into objective and key results. Then it really became famous when John Doerr introduced this at a small startup at the time called Google. And OKRs have been part of the Google company for a very long time, and they've been adopted to drive the company's rapid growth and innovation. And so a lot of companies saw what Google was doing with OKRs and implemented it in their own organization. Right now, OKRs are part of many tech giants, but also diverse companies, industries, manufacturers, more traditional companies have implemented OKRs. So it's not just tech companies, it's a range of companies, including non-governmental organizations. So it's a wide range of organizations. As long as the idea is to align the strategy with the day-to-day activities to improve alignment, transparency, and execution, many organizations can implement it, from very small ones to very large ones. If you look at Google now, it's not a small organization. So it's not only startups, it's also very, very large organizations. And as I said, OKRs are a way to connect ambitious goals, ambitious objectives with concrete outcomes, with measurable outcomes. That's a key difference with other frameworks. OKRs focus on measurable results, measurable outcomes, and it's designed to drive accountability and clarity. It's not about saying you want to be market leader. Fine, you want to be a market leader. What does it mean? What does it mean in terms of actual numbers? So you put a number, you put a measurement on your success. And that way, ultimately, what you do is that you link individual contributions, by individual contributions, I mean people's contribution to a project, to a program, to the organization's broader goals. OKRs consist of two pieces, and actually it's very simple. OKRs stand for objectives and key results. So you have an objective and a key result. The objective is qualitative. It's where you want to go. The key results is quantitative, is how you measure the success. Objectives is what is to be achieved, and key results explain how we will measure the success. And there is this famous kind of tip from Measure What Matters is I will insert your objective as measured by insert your key result. What are the common issues? Why would you implement OKR? Maybe everything is going fine with the way you're executing your strategy. But actually, I mean, in my experience and in the experience of many people that work in strategy, you always find the same things. There is a lack of alignment. Is that the CEO or whoever in the management might say, "Hey, this is a strategy. This is where we want to go," and there is a mismatch in the daily activities, in the projects that the teams are actually doing. And it's a lack of alignment, a lack of strategic alignment, and we see it times and times again. And it's confusing because people don't know exactly how to implement the strategy. Hey, we want to be market leader. What does it mean for me? And so people go a bit in all the direction, and you have a lack of alignment. Poor communication is that objectives are not clear. They're not clear because you say market leader, it means everything for it means anything and everything for everybody, which means that teams are working separately in silos without getting the full picture. Ineffective monitoring. There is a lack of performance management. Progress is not tracked regularly. Strategies are not adjusted to changing needs. So it's a mess. So that's the common issues with strategy execution. And here comes your OKRs. And in terms of strategic alignment, it's useful because you ensure efforts are really aligned with the strategy of the organization. Overall business strategy is aligned with what the teams are doing. And you have a vertical alignment, but also an horizontal alignment because you have transparency when it comes to OKRs. You know what the other teams are working on, and you know who is contributing to the overall business strategy. So it provides a clear roadmap for the entire organization. You have accountability at all levels, and it reinforces the purpose of the teams because as a team member, I know that I contribute to the overall success of the organization. OKRs, therefore, are quite important in that driving strategy execution. They drive this alignment between the different layers, between the teams. Everyone is moving in the same direction. You break down the silos that I mentioned just before. When you define a strategy and you don't define how it's going to be executed, then everybody is doing its own thing. With OKRs, actually, you ensure that resources are not wasted because you align the teams, and you make sure that everybody is working towards the business strategy of the moment. It facilitates this unified direction and purpose of the teams, and it's really crucial because otherwise, when you are in a tough spot, when the economy is not growing as much as you would want, you don't get the customer acquisition that you were looking for. It's not really the time to waste resources. So this strategic alignment is really key. The key benefits is that you improve also transparency. You have a clear view on who is contributing to the strategy, who is putting the right efforts across the team. So as I said, horizontally and also vertically. It's making it clear for everybody within the organization where you are headed. What is the vision, strategy, execution? This is a much clearer path. Who is doing what? OKRs, one of the intended outcome is that you know people that are actually working and people that are not doing what it takes for the success of the organization. It brings this clarity and this transparency that is really key as management when you try to drive an organization forward. It encourages a culture of accountability because all the teams, all the departments will define their own objectives and their own key results. And you can that way instill a culture of performance, a culture of overachieving. What are effective OKRs? Effective OKRs are clear, they're challenging, and they're aligned. As I said, maybe the organization will have 3 objectives. You're running a department, you will define your OKRs to be aligned with the overall organization. They need to be challenging, they need to be clear. Everybody can understand from reading your objective where you are headed, and they can understand from reading your key results what success looks like. As I said, as an example, I want to be market leader. What does it mean in terms of number of customers, in terms of sales, in terms of market share. And by setting it clear, it's it's transparent for the whole organization to see. It should inspire, it should push the teams and people to achieve more. It's not about setting something that is easily reachable, because as a CEO of the organization, you would see everybody putting very attainable targets, and you will try to push them more. So that's also one of the benefits of OKRs. A great objective is ambitious. It's something that you want to achieve, and you know that even though you don't achieve it, you will have driven your organization forward. I want to be market leader. You know you're probably not going to achieve it, but you know that it's going to push you in the top 5. So that's the momentum that you want to get to with OKRs. If it's too comfortable, it's not going to be challenging enough. It's not going to move the teams. You're not going to get the right outcomes. And one natural step and one important step is to align your OKRs with the strategic goals, with the strategic objectives. You need to ensure your OKRs support the strategy. It's a strategy execution tool. So it's not the other way around. It's not a framework. It's not something very rigid that you need to do yes or yes. If the strategy changes, your OKRs will change. So it's really here to support the execution of the strategy and support how the daily work is aligned with the overall strategy. Think about it as a conduit. It's the alignment between the strategy and the daily activity through the OKRs will prevent the teams from working in silos, and prevent the teams from working towards something that is not relevant for the organization, not relevant to the strategy. You need to involve the leadership in the OKR setting process, because it's that moment where the leadership can really link the strategy, the vision that they have for the business, for the organization, and what the teams are gonna actually do in the day to day. Sorry. The common pitfalls: setting too many OKRs, making them too easy, unmeasurable key results, not reviewing the OKRs regularly, not being ready, and not actively managing the change. So why do I say that? Setting too many OKRs. If there are too many objectives, then you're going to lose focus. And actually, it's about making sure that what you want to achieve is achievable. So you're going from strategy to execution. What can I actually execute within a year, within 3 months, within 3 years? So it's about filtering. If you have 15 objectives, it means you're not focusing on anything. So it's about getting to that focus, getting to that execution. If they're too easy, you're not going to get the right outcome. You're not going to push your teams. You're not going to effectively use your resources. So obviously, you need to be ambitious yet achievable. As I said, the example of being market leader. If you're just launching your business, be realistic. You're not going to be a market leader. So it's about being ambitious, but also being reasonable, realistic in what you want to achieve. Unmeasurable key results is also a common pitfall, in the sense that the link is, the objective is a qualitative, is where you want to go. How you measure it is through the key result. So it needs to be measurable. For instance, if you're saying, hey, I want to, as an objective, I want to have the best product in the market, and I'm going to measure this with customer satisfaction score. If you're not measuring your customer satisfaction score, then it's useless. Why would you put this as a key result if you can't measure it? So it's better to have a metric that is not perfect, but that is measurable, rather than the perfect metric that you actually can't measure. There is a sense of momentum in the OKRs. It's not a set and forget framework. It's not I'm setting some targets. Let's see at the end of the quarter if I've achieved them. No, it's about I want to reduce customers churn by 5%. Every couple of weeks, I'm going to look if actually I am getting to that goal. So there is this momentum, and you need to stay on top of the OKRs. Not being ready and actively managing the change, because OKRs, maybe you've already understood how it works. It's very easy to understand objective and key results. I have my objective, it's qualitative. My key results are quantitative to measure the success. Awesome. However, implementing the OKR framework implies a number of changes. What I said in terms of transparency, OKRs are transparent around the organization. If I'm in the marketing team, I know what the sales team has in terms of OKRs. I know what the engineering team is doing. I know what the operations team are doing. This level of transparency is sometimes a bit hard to get to in some organizations that are more used to, hey, I do my own thing. I don't want to share what I'm working on. So this level of commitment to transparency is sometimes a bit discomforting, but it's very important in the OKR framework. Same, the way the teams might align to their strategy mean that there is the involvement of the teams to define what strategy execution means, what the success means. And sometimes some management that are very top down, they might not like this way of working. So there are some elements of change when you implement OKRs that might be at first a bit discomforting, and you need to manage that change. So let's spend a few minutes on a hypothetical scenario to draft OKR so you get an understanding of what I mean here. As I said, I used actually this example already 2 or 3 times, but I want to be a market leader. So let's say I'm a cheesemaker. I'm in Spain, I'm making cheese. It can be, let's say it's good cheese. And I run the company, and we have an ambitious objective. We want to become the cheese market leader in Spain. So consider, I'll give you 30 seconds or maybe 1 minute to consider what key results would effectively measure the progress towards this objective. If you want, you can even write them in the chat. Then I'll give you some elements of answer. So I'll give you, another 30 seconds. Oh, and I see that there are a few questions. I'll get to the questions at the end, if you don't mind. We have a Q&A session planned. But I'll take note of the question. Okay, so I am a cheesemaker, and I'm saying that I want to be the cheese market leader in Spain. It's not easy because if you know Spain, in Spain we eat a lot of cheeses, so it's tough to be the market leader. So my objective is to become the cheese market leader in Spain. How am I going to measure that? Well, as I said, let's say that I want to be ambitious, but I'm realistic. I already have 15% of the market share. And to be market leader is to have 25%. So what I said before, I want to be ambitious, but I want to be also realistic. If I have 0% market share, because I'm a cheesemaker in France, probably within a year, I'm not going to be market leader. There's also a sense of time boundaries. So here the objective is not an objective by 2050. This would be, I want to be the market leader within a year, within 5 years, within 3 years. You need to set your OKRs with a time. So let's say here it's within a year. I think that within a year, I'll go from 15% market share to 25% market share. Also, I will expand the distribution network to 1,200 retail locations. That's how also I will measure that I'm becoming the cheese market leader. And I will launch 3 new products. That meant that I will generate 50 million of additional revenues with these 3 products. So you can see with the 3 key results, they're clearly measurable. I can measure the market share because I'm already measuring it now, so I know exactly how to calculate it. I know how many retail locations I distribute my product through right now, so I know how to get to 1,200. And 50 million in additional revenues is very measurable because I'm going to launch 3 products. So there are 3 things here. Well, a few things here. First, it's from these 3 key results, you can already see that there is going to be a number of tasks, a number of projects in order to do this. And so this is what I meant by strategy execution. You have your strategy, so you want to be market leader. You're starting to measure the success. And then after that, you're going to have a number of activities that will drive these key results. So this is how you really link your key results. There are several things that you want to avoid as well. You want to avoid binary key results. So for instance, for the third one, you wouldn't say, hey, my key result is to launch a cheese product, because this is binary. It happens or it doesn't happen. But actually, if you say, I'm going to launch a product and it's going to generate X in revenues, this is the outcome. So there is always this question of outcome and pushing the why in OKRs. It's not about launching the product. You're actually launching the product because you want additional revenues. So when you implement OKRs, it's asking why a lot. It's like, okay, but why are you launching this product? Or why do you want to expand your market share? Well, why? Because I want to be market leader. Or why do you want more distribution? More distribution means more sales, mean like a hold on the distribution channels. So it's asking why a lot. Integrating OKRs in daily operations, as you've seen, is that basically what happens is that you will define your objectives at a high level. You will define key results. Then the flow of work will come from these key results. Is that okay? I want to get to 1,200 distribution points. Well, it means I need a lot of work to talk to partners in order to be at these distribution channels. So integrating OKRs into daily work to keep them front and center. So what I said, it's very easy to understand, but you need to think that OKRs need to be in the day-to-day work. You can't have the sales team focusing on other stuff if you said that actually you wanted to be in more distribution channels. So they can't be pushing, for instance, within that year. They can't be doing other sales work, other channels, like selling online. No, because you've said that the strategy was to expand the footprint through partners, through distribution touch points. So you need to make sure that the daily work is aligned with the OKRs. They need to be visible. It's a sense of transparency. You will have these OKRs are defined. They will be visible for everybody. And you will know, for instance, that if there is a commercial director in charge of partnership sales, he will be responsible for that key result in particular. It will be visible for everybody. It needs to remind people that there are targets. Also, a trick, or not a trick, but a tip is to regularly refer to the OKRs in the decision making in the strategy. So as you start implementing OKRs, the next time around when you talk about your strategy, you talk about what you've achieved in terms of OKRs and how it helped deliver strategy execution. You need to constantly reinforce the importance of OKRs in strategy execution. Uh, an OKR culture, so a culture of strategy execution, doesn't happen overnight. You need to take time to cultivate this culture of people and teams setting goals, measuring them, achieving them, learning from the past mistakes. So, learning from things that haven't worked. I'm the cheesemaker. I set this objective. Comes the year end, I realize I'm not the market leader because actually I have achieved only 18% market share. I am present in 1,000 locations, and I've launched the two products, but I've only achieved 30 million. The point is not to look back and say, hey, this is your fault, this is your fault. The point is to learn what has gone wrong. First, maybe you're happy still with the outcome because you've pushed all the teams in the right direction. Secondly, you're going to look at, okay, what we could have done better, and what can we learn for next time. There is this sense of continuous improvement and learning, continuous learning to improve the way you execute your strategy. You need to encourage the teams to, well, first embrace the change that comes with OKRs, but also see it as a way to learn. So learning to fail, which is sometimes a bit hard for some people, but it's better in the sense of the OKRs. It's better to set an ambitious target that you will reach only at 80% or 70% or 80%, rather than set a target that you will reach at 100% midway through your quarter or midway through your year. That's that's not the outcome that you want. You prefer to push the teams and push your organization to achieve better. But that means being comfortable with not being at 100% all the time. And that's a realignment that some management teams will have to do. You need to celebrate the successes and learn from the failures, as I've just said. So you obviously celebrate the successes. We've launched two products, great. We've generated extra revenues, great. Okay, we didn't get exactly where we wanted to go. What can we learn and what can we improve? There are a few rituals in the OKRs, in the OKR framework. At the end of the day, it's all about having discussions about strategy execution and about like how do I go from the strategies, the objectives, the key results, and the daily work. So usually OKRs are set quarter by quarter. So in the sense that you want to keep a certain momentum. So let's say that this strategy to be market leader, or this strategy to be, you have an overall strategy for 3 years to be a significant company in the cheese making space. And so one of your shorter objective is within a year you want to be a leader in Europe. Fine. And within the next quarter you want to be a leader in Spain, because this helps you becoming a leader in Europe and ultimately becoming a significant company in the cheese making space in Europe. So you can see the flow here. And usually you would set OKRs for a quarter, but some organizations set them for 4 months, 6 months, 1 year. It's flexible. There are no rules. Shorter than a quarter is difficult because then, like how to align the teams, the work. It's better, in my experience, to set 3 months and more, depending on the rhythm of your organization. So you would have a quarterly planning. So you would review the past performance, the previous quarter, set new objectives for the next quarter, and align key results with the objectives. So you would do this at an organization level. Obviously, it depends how granular you go with your OKRs. You can go like the organization, then the departments and the teams and the sub teams. You can go like very deep if you want, or you only set OKRs for organization, departments, and that's it. But you need to align the teams. As I said, what is very important is to make sure that the OKRs are defined at an organization level. The teams that are defining their own OKRs, everything is aligned because you ultimately want the strategy to be executed. So that you do at the end of every quarter, beginning of the next one, or 4 months or 6 months, as I said. So you review the past performance, you set new objectives, and you align your results. Important weekly or bi-weekly check-ins. So check-in is just a meeting where you will talk about how you're doing with your OKRs. So think about a management team. They will meet regularly anyway to talk about the business performance. So instead of talking about KPIs, they will talk about the OKRs and how they're driving change through the OKRs. And that moment when you do your checking, it's very quick. It should be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, where you talk about the progress on your key results, you identify the challenges, and you adjust the priorities. So really, you're about problem solving here. You're not about, hey, it's Bob's fault, it's Mark's fault, it's whatever fault because we're not achieving. Here, you're like, okay, we're blocked on the distribution channels. What can we do to unblock this? This is not the right metric to track. What should we track to make sure that we're continuing to move in the right direction? So you're really about how do we continue executing better our strategy. And as I said, in the quarterly planning, there is this very important moment where you review, you do a bit of a retrospective on what you've achieved, why you have not achieved what you wanted to do, and what can you learn for the next time. There is this really important idea here, and I've mentioned it several times, about continuous improvement and continuous learning when it comes to the OKR framework. An OKR check-in, so it's about a meeting, but obviously we call it check-in. You can call it whatever you want, but the point is, at every level where you have OKRs, you should have regular review. They're called check-ins to evaluate the progress and recalibrate the goals, recalibrate the key results if need be. This is flexible. The point is to execute your strategy. Your strategy is not going to change every day. The OKRs are not going to change every day, but the way you execute your strategy might change. You adapt to external market conditions. You adapt to the fact that your business maybe some parties doing well, some other parties not doing well. You need to adapt. For instance, distribution channels. You realize actually you're not going to be able to secure your additional distribution points in the quarter. Okay, find a solution. You go online. You find another distribution partner. You're not going to be able to launch your new products. Okay, what can you do that will help you achieve your objective? So really think about, okay, there is a blocker. I'm overcoming this challenge to continue moving in the right direction. You're discussing what's working, what isn't, how to improve. That's why it's very important to have these discussions as regular as possible. It's not about waiting the end of the quarter. We spend an hour to think about like what has not worked. No, like every week, every couple of weeks, you talk about what's not working and you find a solution. You learn from the past and you get better. This is how you get super good at strategy execution with OKRs, with this continuous rhythm. You will continuously, adapt the OKRs based on the feedback from your team, changing circumstances. Encourage your teams to provide adjustments. Hey, I think we should move to 4 months instead of 3 months so we can decouple from the accounting periods. Great, let's do this. So you need to continuously adapt the OKR framework to your circumstances. You test things that work, things that don't work, and continuously learn from, hey, this other organization is doing it that way. Maybe we should do it that way. Maybe we should reorganize our teams to be more aligned to the objectives. Think about it as a flexible framework that will adapt to your situation. OKR is so this is my point here. It's a flexible strategy execution framework. It adapts to the reality of your organization. There are some principles that you're gonna have a hard time overcoming. So, for instance, transparency. I'm sorry, but the problem is that the way you will define your OKRs, it's impossible to do it without transparency. But everything else, like the length of the cycle, the number of objectives you want to pursue, the size of the teams, cross teams within departments, a lot of things are very flexible, which means that when I see organizations or companies that say, hey, OKRs don't work for us, for me, I'm like, this is a lie. It means you haven't made the changes that were required for the framework, or there is bad leadership and bad management. So whatever framework will not change that. In the sense that sometimes, most of the times, when I look at why it has failed, it's not because of the framework itself. It's because there wasn't the right sponsorship or leadership. The changes were not made. The strategy was not clear. The key results were not measurable. The processes were not in place. So it's a range of issues that have nothing to do with the OKR um, framework itself. Examples of companies that have used OKRs and they are using OKRs and it's working perfectly fine. Intel, as I just said, they've used OKRs as a way to regain market share, to have a results-oriented culture, and obviously they've been using OKRs for a very long time. Google has been using OKRs as a way to launch product faster, measures the outcome of the product that they're launching, learn from failures, and readapt. Um, you've seen many tech companies are very good at launching a product and stopping it. If you look at Google, you will see that if you remember that they've launched a lot of products, they've they've stopped a lot of products, and it's because they know that they learn from failure, and then they will be better the next time. So that's what a lot of companies are doing. Spotify also is using OKRs as a way to do cross-functional collaboration. So, are you ready for OKRs? Are you ready to be better at strategy execution? This is your checklist. Uh, be ready for the transparency that comes with OKRs. I think I see a lot of organizations that are not ready for this kind of transparency because they're very top down. I have secret objectives and this kind of stuff. It's not going to work. OKRs imply an open culture from people saying, hey, I don't think this is working. I think this objective is unrealistic. There is a dialogue and learning from failure, being able to being accountable for failure. And that's sometimes uncomfortable, but you need to learn to do it with the OKR framework. Prepare for potential reorganization. I've seen it a few times. As you define objectives that are aligned with the strategy, you realize that some teams are actually not aligned in the way they're working. So sometimes um, what will happen as you define objectives that are aligned with your strategy is that you will realize that you will reorganize some teams to be better aligned to the work that needs to be done to deliver your strategy. Train your teams. It's simple, but it has a number of implications in terms of change, in terms of processes. You can't just dump them and say, hey, good luck with your OKRs. You need to train, even basic, but you need to train people. There is a certain structure in place. You need someone to lead that process. That person needs to be trained a bit more than the others. Then you might have a network of people within the organization that will drive your OKR framework. They need to be trained as well. So just don't forget that you need to train your teams for the process to run well. Establish consistent rituals. What I said, as you've trained your teams, they need to make sure that check-ins are done, the retrospectives are done, learnings are taken into account for the next cycle. So I'm gonna give some space for the Q&A, but for those that want to dive deeper, a good book to get started is Measure What Matters. It's not perfect, but it's a good start. There are a number of online resources. OKR Mentors has a blog section where you can read about various articles about OKRs if you really want to dive deeper into OKRs. So that's it for today. I'll be looking at the questions to see what people were saying as I was talking. It's a very short introduction to OKRs. There are many different parts here. You might know a bit, and you're like, "Hey, you didn't talk about this, or you didn't talk about that." Yes, it's true. I was just trying to really get to the essence of why OKRs are a good way to do strategy execution. Obviously, I haven't covered everything, but just remember it's a flexible framework. It's here to help you execute better your business strategy, your organization strategy. Go better, have a better link between the vision for the organization, the strategy for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, objectives, and key results. Key results are the way you measure your strategic objectives. And then from your key results, you would have a number of tasks, a number of projects that will help you achieve your key results. A number of things to avoid, common pitfalls, too many objectives, too many key results, things that are not measurable, teams are not aligned. So people work on the same objectives, on the same key results. Doesn't make sense. You need to align the teams, which leads me to my last point, which is you need to set up the right organization to make sure that OKR as a framework is working well in your organization. You need a sponsor, you need a lead, you need some people that are actually making sure that this is being implemented right, and make sure, as I was sharing my little checklist, that you're ready in terms of it's. We all often say that OKR is easy to understand, hard to implement, in the sense that it's very easy to understand, but then you need to make sure that you're ready for the transparency, you're ready to eventually reorganize your organization to better execute your strategy. You need to make sure that the culture is running deep in terms of accountability, in terms of defining well your key results and aligning the day-to-day work to user targets. And that's not easy to do. All right. So before I take any other questions, wait.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so
Yeah.
much. Okay. Thank you so much to our speaker, Mr. Tristan, for that compelling presentation. Now let's delve into your question. So please continue to type them into the Q&A tab or on the chat box, and I'll select few for Mr. Tristan to address it live. So let's make this interactive and insightful for everyone.
Okay. So should I answer? Okay. So what time horizon are OKRs used for? So it depends. As I said, what is common is to use a quarter, as most organizations use it for a quarter. Some organizations use it for define 4 months as a way to disconnect from the accounting periods, which might be, end of the year, you have a crush with closing your sales quarter, so you don't want to spend time as well on OKRs. But most organizations use quarters. Some organizations use 4 months, some 6 months. And I don't particularly like longer periods because I like the momentum. It needs to make the organization move. Even if as I said, your objective is to be a market leader and you know you're not going to be able to achieve it within a quarter, it's fine. You break down this strategy, this objective, into something that is more okay. I'm going to be market leader in Catalonia, and that's a good way for me to move to my objective that is in a year. So a quarter is usually great as a time horizon.
Thank you
Okay,
so much. So I have a questions here as well.
how do you effectively flow down OKRs through different levels of the organization? Okay, so basically, you would, um, if it's your first time using OKRs, you would define it at an organization level, and then you pick like maybe a few departments. And so it's what is called the alignment. So each part of the organization will define its OKRs, and then so there are various ways. What I'm describing here is a bit top down. Ideally, you would want a mix of top down and bottom up, which means the organization is defining OKRs at the top. Teams start to think about what they want to focus on uh, the next quarter. And then, as they are given what the organization is going to focus on the next quarter, they're going to align their own OKRs. So that's the flow. And then, obviously, if you have many more levels, the complexity of the alignment will increase, but also usually it means that the organization is much better, is much more mature when it comes to the OKRs, and that process is going faster. But it's this alignment. So basically, and then once uh, everybody has defined their draft OKRs, you spend some time to sit down and see if it's aligned. If, okay, the sum of the team OKRs or the department OKRs is delivering my company OKRs. So you spend a bit of time on this alignment. And as I said, if an organization is very mature with this process, it's very quick. If the organization is implementing OKRs for the first time, I wouldn't go too many levels. I would go like, let's do it for a couple of quarters just at the company level, and then we will introduce it slowly at different levels. Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you so much. So I also have a questions here for from
Yeah.
Mr. Naval. Ensuring that OKRs at different levels, company, team, individual are aligned can be complex. Misalignment can lead to conflicting priorities and inefficiencies. How to address this challenge?
Mm. As I said, I think the communication is key, and so in these phases of alignment, you should spend as much time as possible to make sure that it's aligned across different levels, and that's where an OKR lead or someone really in charge of making sure that sometimes it's the chief of staff, sometimes it's that person that is has a strategic focus in the organization, making sure that all the OKRs are aligned at different levels. But for me, as long as you're not comfortable with the alignment that you have, you need to continue having these discussions. So as much time as needed, and as the organization is more mature, you need less time. But at first, you need to ensure that it's really aligned. And as you said, to make sure that there are no conflicting priorities, you don't have two teams working on the same thing, but you need to spend really a lot of time on this. So, which means usually what I suggest is asynchronous alignments and then synchronous alignment. So, asynchronous in the sense making sure that everybody has visibility on this transparency I was talking about, visibility across the organization on what the others are working on, and then spending actual time to make sure that between the teams, hey, I see that you want to launch the same product as I do. Why don't we work together on how we can combine, like the work of both our teams to deliver that product? So spending time on that horizontal and vertical alignment at the beginning of an OKR cycle to avoid these conflicting priorities.
Thank you so much. So I also have a question here from Mr.
Yeah.
Aditya. What OKRs would you use for branding and or rebranding?
So I would, in that case, I mean, I would spend a bit of time on the why. You know what I said, like asking why. Why are you rebranding? Why are you branding? Most of the time, I'm guessing it's to have a better NPS or have a better brand that resonates with my customers. And so that's basically your objective is, hey, I want to rebrand to have a better, uh, better awareness across my customers. And then how you would measure it? Well, I guess you would measure with an NPS or increasing sales. There might be different objectives. So that's where you get into the core of why you're doing the rebranding, why you're doing the branding. What do you want? How do you want to define the brand? What's the reason here? So that's what you would start with. I would start by asking you why you're rebranding. Most organizations, they want, to get a fresh start, or to combine I'm combining different businesses, so I'm rebranding the overall business to reflect all my different businesses. Fine, but because why? Because my customers are confused, or they don't associate my business with the right image. Okay, fine. This you can measure, because this is how you're taking your decision, right? You're taking your decision based on some data. You're saying, hey, I want to rebrand because ABCD. And so this is the outcome that you would measure. Thanks, Aditya.
Okay, thank you so much. So I also have a question here from Miss Elena. I'm
Okay.
doing a superior product quality and advertise it. To be able to sell my product, I start to giving to them, to the customer for free to try and
Okay.
see the quality of the product. Oh,
Okay. So what's not sure I understand the question. If you mean, what could you define as OKRs? Um, well, I guess, I
to check.
mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess here is the same. Is that what are the outcome that you want? I guess you want people to use your product before you start selling it. So what I would measure here is feedback, customer satisfaction. One way to get some feedback on the product launch, for instance, like usage. I mean, it depends on the product, but yeah, I would collect feedback and collect usage as the outcome here. Thanks, Elena.
Thank you so much. So let's address the last questions here. So this question is from Mr. Naval. Teams might focus too narrowly on their own OKRs without considering cross-functional dependencies, leading to a lack collaboration. How to address
Mm.
this?
Yeah, so that's something that might happen. Yes, as people um, focus on their own OKRs, and that I've seen it in an organization where people were focused on their OKRs. They wanted to achieve their OKRs. So there was a bit this healthy competition between the teams. Hey, I have set my OKRs. I want to achieve them, and basically, hey, I need that other team to help me with my OKRs, but they don't want to allocate time because they're working on their own thing. And this is when you do the alignment, and this is where uh, a strong sponsorship and a strong leadership comes in. It's when the management will decide what is more important. Is it that project? Is it that other project? Is it that objective? That other objective? Not all strategic objectives are born equal. That's the reality, and this is where what I said, it's it's as much about the framework as it is about the communication and the strategic direction. And this is where a CEO would come in and say, hey, actually, I think this project is more important than this one. So I would like you guys to focus more on this. So I think it's about giving a bit of freedom to the teams to make sure that they align their own OKRs to the organization and to what the organization would want to do. And when there's this competition, this silos that create, I think at that moment where you would need someone to step in and make sure that you don't have you don't have friction, and make sure that it's more about collaboration. And one way I found useful to break down silos is that you have different teams, but actually the OKRs are cross teams. So the OKRs are cross-functional by nature. That instead of defining objectives by teams, you set objectives that are by nature cross-team. So that way you're pushing people to work together. It's a bit like putting them in a room and locking the room and making sure that they collaborate. So that's a bit of a brutal way to make sure that there is collaboration, but I found it useful.
Thank you so much. So, okay. So let me go ahead. Okay, thank you so much for to answer all of the questions of our attendees today. So before we conclude, I'd like to share a few important announcements for everyone. So today's session has been recorded and will be accessible on the YouTube channel, serving as a valuable resource. And attendees not yet a members of the ITC are eligible for a free membership. Don't miss out on this opportunity to join to our community. And lastly, participants will receive a certificate of participation. Please watch your email for further instruction for this. So, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with us, Mr. Tristan?
Well, thank you for tuning in. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any OKR questions. As you can see, I love to talk about OKRs. And yeah, please do reach out, follow me. I share a lot of things about OKRs as you might expect. So yeah, please do get in touch.
Okay, thank you so much. So, if there is any attendees wish to contact Mr. Tristan regarding on this presentation, the email address is on already displayed on the screen right now. And I will also provide my email address for those not yet a member of the International Trade Council. Please feel free to leave a message in my inbox. And also a big thank you again to you, Mr. Tristan, for your expert insights today, and to all of our participants. Thank you for your active participation and thoughtful questions to our host for today or speaker for today. Your engagement enriches our webinars, and look out for the follow-up information in your email, including how to claim your certificate. Wishing you all a wonderful afternoon. Looking forward to welcoming you to future webinars. So goodbye for now, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Goodbye, Mr. Tristan.